but I see it as someone who's already renting property, which is what's gonna happen with these. They're already renting, then they wanna rent more. I don't want the more. I don't,
Yeah, it does
because I
provide,
can't control the more.
yeah, it provides more of a range of affordability of housing.
Yeah, but we're already doing that with the apartments that are coming into town. So my argument is, I don't think it adds any more bodies to the city, um, in an appropriate way when we're already adding more.
Hello. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's call this meeting to order.
You can just see my backyard.
You can't take, you have an age.
I know.
City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting, February 4th, 2020. Could we have a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jim Dunham, a resident here of North Kansas City. Just a couple of things. Having just listened to the information about the surveying, I'm really pleased to hear about the surveying. I think it's really critical. I know in recent board meetings, I've heard a lot of discussions about the fact that there seemed to be a lot of anecdotal information being thrown around. We heard from this group, and we think that somebody, said. And coming from a school district, school districts are using this kind of data a lot. They're surveying a lot, getting this kind of data a lot, and making those comparisons. And I just had an opportunity to chat a bit. I would really encourage you as a commission to look at very seriously that benchmarking data is extremely important. It's very easy as a school district, if you're in North Kansas City, to say, well, compared to Kansas City, our kids feel very safe. But you need to be looking at school districts that are similar to your school district. And the same thing is going to be true for North Kansas City. Obviously, a place that gives trash service twice a week is going to look very favorably compared to other places that don't do that. But what you're going to have to do, and what the challenge is, I think, for some of this data is to find those communities where trash service is also given twice a week, and how do we look compared to those places? So that benchmarking piece, I believe, is really important. But I'm really pleased to hear that. And I think as other really critical issues arise, like the Armour Road issues recently, it's going to be more important for you to be willing to spend the $15,000 or $20,000 to get information like this data so that you're not running on the fly. And so we're not getting a lot of spurious kinds of information from folks who live in Lee Summit and Oak Grove because they heard North Kansas City is a great place, but in fact from the people who are the beneficiaries largely of the services here. The only other piece that I wanted to note, I know that we have upcoming elections for the city council. I'm very interested in hearing information, and maybe there's something out there I've missed, but I'd like to see some candidate forums that are offered by neutral bodies. I'm already beginning to see some information about some candidate forums that I know are going to be offered by some special interest groups, so to speak, or some individuals. And I'm not interested in having to watch folks tap dance to the special interest of what's going on. I'd like to see those brought together by an election committee or some other folks so that we have a more even kind of opportunity for folks to talk their opinions and their views, as opposed to trying to be put on the spot by a particular special interest group who may be hosting a forum. So that would be my only other thought. And thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, anybody else? Hearing none. Okay. Consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we need a motion?
I made the motion.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8.
Number 10,
Okay, okay.
license agreement, 919 East 14th Avenue, The Rabbit Hole, bill number 7487, ordinance number 9284.
Eric,
Thanks, sir. I'll call on the Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Construction is underway for the Rabbit Hole in the building at the southwest corner of 14th and Knox. That building was originally constructed along the property lines of both 14th and Knox. And as the owners are working on their project, there are two elements of that construction that would encroach into the city's right-of-way. One is relatively minor. Their entrance along 14th Avenue, the door, it will swing outward into the right-of-way. We typically require, particularly in downtown where this happens occasionally, when a door swing encroaches into the right-of-way, we ask the property owner to obtain from you a license agreement for that encroachment. On the Knox side of the building, they're planning a larger encroachment into the right-of-way. This is a patio area that also incorporates their accessible ramp that allows for handicap access into the building. And they're making this part of a larger improvement to the area that includes patio space, some landscaping, just a nicer entrance to the building along the Knox side of the property. This also does require a license agreement from you because it is located within the right-of-way. Staff has been working with the developer on both of these areas. We do think that this is a significant improvement to both sides of the building. The tenant understands that your approval is necessary for this. The work that they've been doing so far has been at risk. And they also understand that the City Council can terminate the license agreement at any point in the future with notice as outlined in the agreement. If you have any other questions about what they're planning to do, I would be happy to take a stab at answering those. And Mr. Barzee could answer any legal questions you might have about the form of the agreement.
First reading.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance adopting and approving a license agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Rabbit Hole KC regarding city right-of-way generally located on the east side and north side of a certain building along Knox Street and 14th Avenue, having a street address of 919 East 14th Avenue in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7487 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9284.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a license agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Rabbit Hole KC regarding city right-of-way generally located on the east side and north side of a certain building along Knox Street and 14th Avenue, having a street address of 919 East 14th Avenue in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
11.
Budget amendment, design work, drainage improvements in vicinity of the Rabbit Hole, resolution number 20005.
Eric,
Thank you, sir. The next two items on your agenda are companion items, and really their placement here is coincidental with the action you just took. But they do regard a proposal in the vicinity of the Rabbit Hole. So the Rabbit Hole is currently anticipated to open in late 2020, according to the founder and executive director, Pete Cowden. It's bounded on the east by Knox Street and on the south by 13th Avenue. Both of these streets have really poor drainage, lack curbs, present a rather poor appearance. I've taken some pictures that kind of show what we're talking about. been included in your packet. Given that, according to Mr. Cowden, he's expecting that the first year that facility is going to attract 150,000 visitors a year. Many of those will be seeing North Kansas City for the first and maybe only time. And it will become a very well-traveled street as opposed to now when neither of those streets has been getting all that much traffic because of just the nature of the non-use of the buildings in the area. So given that, staff would recommend that we prepare for a possible project next year by having some design work done now to figure out what needs to be done, because it wouldn't necessarily be an easy project to accomplish the drainage and everything that would be necessary, and to determine what a cost would be, because right now we really don't have any idea. So for that reason, before you now is a proposal to amend the budget in the amount of $22,000 to allow for 50% a design, which would include a fairly detailed cost estimate. And then following that budget amendment, if you approve it, we would have a task order with our consulting engineer, Wilson and Company, to perform that work. Be happy to try to answer any questions.
So this is up to 22,000 for the design work for the improvements, is that correct?
That's right.
And you said 50% design?
So you would, yeah, correct. It wouldn't be 100% design. The main purpose of this project would be to get a really good cost estimate.
Schematics and cost and, okay.
Weren't we aware of the drainage down there to start with?
Yes. It hadn't really been on our radar until recently. When,
Yeah.
you know, given our parking lot work that occurred there, we'd been spending more time in the area, and we realized that the area is really not in great shape.
Yeah, I was down there on that corner for a number of years.
Yeah.
All you had to do was ask me. I could have told you.
We didn't fix it for him, I guess, but
No, I didn't get it fixed.
you didn't get it.
Okay. Any
Move
more
to-
discussion?
This one picture here,
Yes, sir. Which one are you talking about?
the first one, I guess.
Uh-huh, okay.
It shows kind of like the alley there.
Right, so it's looking, actually, that's Knox Street. It's
Oh.
looking north from the corner of 13th and Knox.
Well, the building with the Johnny on the spots there, is that the rabbit hole?
That's Seaberg muffler, the one on the right. The one
Yeah.
on the left, the one on the left is the rabbit hole. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, that's what I was fixing to say is on the right.
Yeah.
See, it's going to be the same thing be asked of us. It's going to be asked of us about that mill. Somebody's going to have to do something with that building. Is it going to be Seaberg's or us? I mean, it's condemned, isn't it?
Boy, sir, I don't have any opinion on that tonight.
Well,
we can take a look at that.
it was noted once for the fire department not to go in it if it caught on fire.
In the last 6.5 years, we have had no dangerous building cases involving that property. It has not been declared dangerous.
Has it been refurbished since the,
I can't answer as to whether we've issued any permits for that building. I would have to tomorrow look through the system.
I have a feeling it's
It has
going,
not been declared dangerous, and we have not condemned it.
well, the fire department won't go in it to fight a fire, I can tell you that right now. It's a dangerous building. You need to go in and look at it if you don't know that. I mean, it needs to be fixed or tore down. It's going to be an eyesore, just as bad as the roads.
Well, we can certainly take a look at that and provide you some input, but that's not before you at the moment.
Yeah, I know, but you can see the broken windows, and believe me, the last time I was in it, you couldn't hardly walk through it because that's where they put all their rubbish from the shop down here. And nobody wanted to do anything about it because everybody loved Clyde Ellis. But Clyde's dead now. So I would like for, to be checked into.
We'll do so.
I'll move to approve resolution 20005.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here's number 12, that's
Approval of task order design work, drainage improvements in vicinity of Rabbit Hole.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 13.
Number 13, approving accounts due and payable by the city through January 31st, 2020. Bill number 7488, ordinance number 9285.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through January 31st, 2020.
Okay, Mr. Eric.
Oh, I move
Oh.
that bill number 7488 be placed on second and final reading and passed as ordinance number 9285.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through January 31st, 2020.
Mr. Eric.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, as we all know, there's a parade tomorrow to honor the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl on Sunday. I'd like to ask Chief Freeman and Chief Hargis just to talk about how their agencies will be interacting with Kansas City or with the crowds tomorrow.
Good evening. So yes, a parade tomorrow. We've been in contact with Kansas City Police Department. As you probably heard many of the reports, they're expecting to have on about 700 uniformed officers throughout the day for the festivities. We mutually agreed to not lend help specifically to them, mostly because of the fact that we are the closest municipality to the parade route that's not Kansas City, and there might be some anticipated spillover. So we wanted to make sure our city was staffed for that spillover if it should occur. Specifically, we have some contingency plans for road closures if parking becomes a problem. More specifically, if people decide to abandon their cars along the roadway like they did during the Royals Parade. And secondly, we do have one of our first street cameras for this budget year installed. Actually finished that project today, and it's 10th and Burlington, so we'll be able to keep a good close eye on Heart of America Bridge. So that's basically what we're doing. Some of our non-uniform staff will have uniforms available to go on patrol if needed, and obviously we have the ability to call in any and all of our staff if we need to. Any questions on our part? Thank you.
On the fire side, we've been working with the Kansas City Fire Department for the last 2 weeks on this as well. We brought in some additional staff to man an extra ambulance that we're providing to them down on the parade route. We're one of 20 outside agencies providing additional ambulances for them. I will be assisting with them in the Emergency Operations Center tomorrow, but we have our recall available too. If anything happens here, I'll be able to come straight back from there. I won't be down in the crowd. I'll be at the Operations Center a little bit further away from town. We've been working with them for the last 2 weeks on this, so they learned a lot of lessons from the Royals Parade, so hopefully anything that happened during that, we won't repeat that again this time. So if you have any questions about our response, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Chiefs. I'm sorry, I was looking at an email from Councilmember Smith on the next item I was going to talk, or one of the next items I'm going to talk about. Just, we don't have anything to report on the Armour Road Complete Street project since our last meeting. And then I did send you all a note yesterday. So it has been our practice lately for every 2 years to conduct a goal-setting session when we sit down with an external facilitator and develop goals to guide the city over the next 2 to 3 years. We typically would try to do this after the municipal election, but before the submission of the following year's proposed budget. So we've been doing it in June, and typically we've done it over an all-day Friday session and a half-day Saturday session. So do want to get some input from council on that. even though we know that we'll have 2 new council members after April, we would like to begin the recruitment process for a consultant. They do tend to get booked up, and then we wouldn't bring a contract forward with a consultant until after the election, and then finalize the plans. But it would allow us to get going so that we're not too late when we actually do begin to solicit for those services. So would like to determine, first of all, can we assume that you would like to do a goal-setting session this year? And if so, is June okay? And then we can talk about June in a second. But does that work generally? Does the format that we've used, the all-day Friday, half-day Saturday, is that acceptable and useful?
Eric, I responded presumptively because I'm running for reelection. So I'm sorry for responding to that. I thought about it later. It was inappropriate.
That's true. Well, we're
perhaps.
asking you to do
But
that.
if I
so,
am,
yeah, right.
I have already submitted my
Right,
dates.
right.
I just want to make that clear because once I responded, I went,
Well, that's a good point.
presumptive.
What we wanted to try to, I guess if there were any of you, and those of you who aren't running maybe, who aren't in an election this cycle, we wanted to go out and try to work with the consultant on weekend dates because sometimes they can do one but not another. But if there were any that somebody said, no, that absolutely will not work, certainly we would like 100% attendance from the council if at all possible. So,
Didn't we have this at the hospital last time around? Or
Parks and Rec.
the last
Parks
time
and
we
Rec.
did it at Parks and Rec.
I like the Parks. Yeah.
Oh,
As
that's
Parks and
right.
Recreation
Yeah,
Center. Before that, the one before that, we did it at the hospital. I think we would try to do it at the Parks and Recreation Center again.
I'm open
So,
any Saturday in June if I can.
Rita, you did indicate that, I guess you have you're working, so the last weekend would be the best, but,
But don't leave it up to
Okay.
me.
June 5th is the newly elected officials conference. So we do have-
okay.
not work.
And then the 12th, 13th doesn't work, so that's because that's when Arts in the Park is, which wouldn't be a good time to do that at the Parks and Recreation, and you all probably want to be involved.
I guess I don't know what time that ends on Friday. I just have on my calendar all day Thursday, Friday.
Well, these things go from like 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh,
then
yeah,
from
that's
like
right.
8 to noon on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe the 19th or 20th or
Yeah, so maybe,
20.
so it looks sounds like maybe that third weekend in June and 19th, 20th. We might try to aim for that. All right, well if that's, I think I'm hearing getting nods. So we'll sort of proceed along those assumptions and hope that will work out, but we'll can indicate that. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I guess you're up.
Oh, I am. We have this upcoming open house for Burlington, which I appreciate and I understand because Eric, reminded me that this is mostly about the people who own businesses there. But as I indicated to him in emails, that because of Armour Road, there's been so much feedback from people in my community and other wards that if we hold open houses, if we hold them from 4 to 6, it's not very conducive of people being able who are working or have kids or whatever to attend. So I would suggest in the future that we hold them from 5 to 7 because I know it's kind of an ongoing event so that it's more inclusive for people to come. I've received a number of emails from people within our ward thinking that we're trying to hide something, if you will, and I know we're not, and I've responded back in kind. But because of the Armour Road brouhaha, right or wrong, we need to open this up so if the community, even if it's not the intended audience, have an opportunity to attend. So I think if we hold any open houses, rather than from 4 to 6, they'd be held from 5 to 7, which allows people with children or jobs or other obligations to attend.
So if I may respond?
Yes.
And did respond to you.
Yeah,
Rita.
you did.
We can do it whenever council directs, of course. Our reasoning was the 4 to 6 straddles both the business community and the resident community. And that's typically when we've been doing them, when we've done them before, because that way the business community can come at the end of its day and not be inconvenienced by having one that's later, and the residential community we thought could come. We have typically found when we used to do it from 4 to 6:30, and we found that hardly anybody came from 6 to 6:30. But I think the 4 o'clock probably makes sense. If you wanted us to try to extend these to 7 o'clock to allow residents to anybody who wants to come, that can't make it before 6, I think there is some benefit in, since we do also want to have the business community come into these, to having that starting time, which we've also often found is the best attended time from 4 to 5. So that would be the response we'd have. But with the next time we do one of these, we'll make sure to come to council and get some input before we final schedule it.
And I appreciate what you're saying, but I think that's a nice compromise. Businesses can still come at 5. They can come after they get off work. And that still allows for the community at large, because a lot of the businesses don't necessarily live in our community. And I'm not by any means saying that's a bad or good thing. I think it's a great thing. But I think that would allow for both the businesses and the community at large that wants to participate. I'm not saying it'll increase participation, but I think given these last few months with the controversy about Armour Road, if we extended it in those hours, even if they didn't come, that would at least extend an opportunity for people who don't get off work till 5 or don't pick up their kids in that time to come to the meetings.
Why couldn't we do it 4 to 7 or?
That's what I was
Yeah.
suggesting.
4 to 7 is fine too, but we need to extend it longer than 6 o'clock. That's all I have.
I just wanted to say thank you for the work on the survey. I think that's exciting and good to hear those. It'll be good to hear those results. And then also for the proactive work on the drainage issues. That's great. So thank you for paying attention to that. And that's, other than that, I'm just happy the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So that's all I have to say.
A couple of things. I'd like to congratulate the Chiefs on their Super Bowl win as well. Offer my services as Chief Freeman. If you need me to suit up tomorrow to patrol, let me know. Or you can go down to the ambulance there, maybe get in the parade route. But congratulations to the Chiefs. And another thing that, we've had some chatter on Nextdoor and social media recently about some issues, Burlington Corridor, Armour Road. Another one of them has been mail service in North Kansas City. And I've put on there that we've tried to work with the post office before and having mail delivered that's to the wrong address, or like I have a recent example, I was on vacation and did a mail stop. Well, they stopped 2 pieces of mail and the other 30 pieces came to the house. So I know, Eric, you at one time had given me the information about the postmaster. I don't know if you still have that contact info, if you can send that to me again.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind. It's just, I know Rick also said we're a training route. We don't have the same person each day, but it's just got to a point where, we as a city, I want to stand up for our residents and fight for them that we have this problem and we need to fix it. And it's out of our hands, it's the post office hands, but it is an issue. And I want to echo Rita's comments on encouraging people to come to the Burlington Corridor meeting and express your views. The only other thing is that I've noticed recently we've had some open storefronts on Armour Road. Some businesses have left, some have reduced their hours, and I really think as far as a focus, economic development or community development, we want to, I know some of those are owned by a certain entity, and maybe hopefully I hope those will be filled soon with businesses, retail, or what have you. So I just other than that, that's all I have.
Mr. Rich.
Okay, I did talk to the post office here a while back. I did have similar problems that Zach had when I was out of town on that cruise. I had my mail held, and then I went to the post office and opened it back up. And after not getting mail for about a week, I went back again, and because I get my medications through the mail, and they didn't know. I got online from where my medicine came from, and they said it was delivered on a certain day and left on my porch, and it wasn't. And they found it. It was in there. It was in the post office, all right, along with a stack that much, to get. I went up to ask them, and, I asked them once, the whole city's not a training route, but guarantee you 25th and 24th Avenues are, because I live on 24th. I asked him if somebody else could take a turn at being a training route. And, they didn't go for that. I think there are problems, and a lot of times we get our mail at 7 o'clock at night. And I feel sorry for the person out there walking, because they got to try to have a flashlight and see. It's ridiculous, but I think it's more of a budget thing with them. They lose about $2 billion a year. And how they function like that, I don't know. But they can't make changes, so Congress won't let them make changes. And I also found out that they got a problem with Congress, about like we do, on Social Security. Congress is allowed to steal the money out of the Social Security fund and put it into the general revenue and leave an IOU. Well, come to find out, the post office has to pay in $1 billion or so into their employees' health benefits for when they retire. And this includes a person from their first day. It's not just the retirees. And they put this in a fund. And sure enough, Congress gets to take that out and leave an IOU. It's a long story, but I don't know what the answer is to our post office. I know that I have delivered mail for them, and some neighbors have come and gave me my mail. I don't know what's going on with them. They couldn't give me a satisfactory answer either. And I know the city has done mass mailings that didn't get there. We went through that, I think. So I don't know if talking to them is going to help or not. Who knows? So that's all I have.
Well, 50 years, and Chiefs finally won the Super Bowl, the big one. And everyone that is going to the parade tomorrow, I hope you have a good time, and I hope that the crowd continues to behave themselves as far as I know, they have done to this point. You go to some cities, and these kind of things are really bad situation. I'll give you an example. I was in Chicago when the Bulls won the three-peat. They had 180 arrests, 3 police shootings. At least one person died, and the chief of police or superintendent of police in Chicago says, we're getting better. You don't have that in Kansas City, and that's a good thing. So I hope everyone enjoys themselves and stay warm for those who go to the parade.
I'll bring this to somebody's attention. I don't know who to go direct to. Corner of Chippewa and Cheyenne Circle, the residents decided to move out, and there's a pile of trash out on the curb that's probably 15 feet deep by 12 or 15 feet wide, and every hour on the hour today, somebody's been digging through the trash, and the trash is now strewn all over the driveway, all over their front yard, with the wind's blowing out of the west. And they're not going to pick it up tomorrow because it's big pickup day. So I guess I don't want the trash to sit out there for weeks on end.
All right, sir, we'll take a look at it and do it.
Pat was going to say something too.
Yeah, we're on that. We contacted the owner yesterday, and we're on it. We'll stay on it.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, the wind's going to start blowing, and it's going to blow all up in my yard, and then I'm going to have to pick it all up.
Thank you.
Huh? Yeah. That's all.
I guess I'll hit on the post office here too. I will say they have been delivering my neighbor's mail to my address a lot earlier in the day, so it gives us more time to get everything where it should go. Other than that, that's it. That's all I got.
Can I say one more thing, Mayor? No. You don't mind? The parking lot that I was in favor of, which is in front of Repeal 18, is empty. I told the people when they came and proposed that they charge $10 to park there, that it would be empty. I was there Friday night. It was empty. Whomever is running that lot told you it would be empty at $10. Need to look at it again. I will say it does look a whole lot better than the concrete things in there, for those who were opposed to my being in favor of it. But I told them they need to charge less. They need to charge less. I'll be really curious to see. I think that tomorrow will be really a good time to look at that parking lot and see, which is not that far from where the parade route is and where you can get, if it's still empty. And I was talking to the new reopening of Repeal 18. They said they towed the 2 or 3 cars that parked there and didn't park there. So I would say whomever owns that lot, they should have paid attention to what I said to begin with, that nobody's going to pay $10 to park in Northtown, and it remains empty. So, looks better, but they need to take a new look at that. That's all I wanted to say about that one. Thank you.
My understanding, the lady that owns that doesn't need the money.
She doesn't care.
I don't have anything. Okay. Next one.
Number 17, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0213.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion?
I'll roll.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr? Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.